Chapter 1351. Jian Wushuang and Duan Lingfeng left. His head was cut off by Jian Wushuang. The black-robed man stopped breathing. He died with his eyes still wide open and a shocked look. When he died, he was still in shock from the fact that he was killed by a universe god in the first heaven, and one who he would have been his prey. But now the black-robed man was dead. Boom! He fell downward. Finally, Jian Wushuang was relieved. Now I don't have to escape anymore, Jian Wushuang thought, thanks to the secret skill of Qian Yuan I got from the Qian Yuan Mystery Land. This secret skill is much more powerful than I had imagined. Jian Wushuang was excited after practicing the secret skill for the first time. But King of Venomous Worms said, the deeper cause is that the man from the Sky-Devouring clan has a consciousness at the same level as a universe god in the third heaven. You already have the same soul power as a universe god in the third heaven. So combing the secret skill of Qian Yuan and the secret skills of Star Palace, you can pose a threat to a high-level universe god in the third heaven. Also, he was not very well prepared. Jian Wushuang smiled. Jian Wushuang had risked injuries and exercised the secret skill of Qian Yuan. And he had succeeded. Jian Wushuang. Duan Lingfeng came to him and said, "Are you okay?" "Fine." Jian Wushuang smiled. "Thank you for your help just now." He was grateful. Duan Lingfeng had indeed played an important role in the battle with the black-robed man. Without Duan Lingfeng distracting the black-robed man, Jian Wushuang could exercise any skill to kill him. "Did you use a consciousness attack just now?" Duan Lingfeng asked Jian Wushuang. "Yes." Jian Wushuang nodded. "You killed a universe god in the third heaven with only the consciousness attack?" "No, I combined other skills. And by the way, the black-robed man didn't have a strong consciousness," Jian Wushuang answered. Duan Lingfeng felt that Jian Wushuang was avoiding telling the whole truth. He looked at him but didn't mention anything else. At that time, the spaceship was moving toward Jian Wushuang and Duan Lingfeng. Master Duan and Brother Jian. Yu Shan smiled to them. Yu Shan witnessed the whole battle. He knew how powerful Duan Lingfeng was. So he had to show his respect by calling Duan Lingfeng master. Jian Wushuang didn't show his full power, but he cooperated well with Duan Lingfeng and created good opportunities for killing the black-robed man. Humph. Duan Ling showed his hatred towards those who chose to hide in the spaceship. Yu Shan and other universe gods in the spaceship felt embarrassed. Jian Wushuang said, "Forgive them. They have no choice as they are not powerful enough." Yu Shan said, "Yes, master. No one could contain that black-robed man except you. So we had to." Jian Wushuang interrupted him at that moment and spoke to Duan Lingfeng. "I also have a spaceship not far from here. How about leaving the team and going together with me?" "Okay." Duan Lingfeng didn't hesitate and he asked Luo Yu and Luo Hai to come with him. Luo Yu and Luo Hai followed Duan Lingfeng with hesitation. Other universe gods in the spaceship were surprised, but they didn't stop Jian Wushuang. If they had been at the center of the ancient Star Sea, they would beg Duan Lingfeng to stay because they needed his help to fight against danger. But now, they didn't have to do so as they would leave the ancient Star Sea within 1 month. Jian Wushuang waved his hands and summoned his spaceship. He got on board the spaceship with Duan Lingfeng, Luo Yu and Luo Hai. Then, they left. "Humph. Can't we survive without them?" Someone from Yu Shan's team said. "How arrogant they are. They believed that we would beg. Ridiculous." The universe gods had a heated discussion after Jian Wushuang and Duan Lingfeng left. They didn't worry about their safety without them. "Let's go by ourselves," Yu Shan said, leading the team to depart again. But at that moment, boom! With a resounding noise, a herd of exotic beasts flooded onto Yu Shan's spaceship. They were giant, colorful bats with sharp claws. They flew very fast, soon surrounding the whole spaceship. Damn it! Everyone was scared. And in an instant, the barrier of the spaceship was broken. A ferocious slaughter began. "Oh no! Oh my God! Damn it!" The universe god screamed, asking Duan Lingfeng to give them a hand. However, Jian Wushuang and Duan Lingfeng had already gone far away. Chapter 1352. Arrival. 1 month later. Finally. On the spaceship, Jian Wushuang was rather delighted. In the ancient Star Sea, there was danger everywhere. Even if it was just him in the ancient Star Sea, he would be on high alert at all times. Now that the spaceship had left the ancient Star Sea region entirely, Jian Wushuang was finally relaxed. Jian Wushuang, you want to head to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries, and I have to send you and Hai to their hometown. We shall part ways in the world before us, Du and Lingfeng said. All right. Jian Wushuang nodded. After the journey in ancient Star Sea, especially when they joined forces to kill the expert from Sky Devour clan, Jian Wushuang and Du and Lingfeng built a relationship. Jian Wushuang was more than happy to make friends with a real expert like Du and Lingfeng who valued friendship. However, they each had their own agenda. Hence, they naturally had to part ways. Soon, the spaceship arrived in the world. Du and Lingfeng, I hope we cross path again in the future. Jian Wushuang bid farewell to the other three. Wait till I send you and Hai back to their hometown. I will wander around the 10 cultivation sanctuaries too. By then, we might meet again. Du and Lingfeng said, I'd like it if when I see you, you're already a universe god in the 3rd heaven. Haha, I will try, Jian Wushuang laughed. Brother Wushuang, goodbye. Luo Yu and Luo Hai bid farewell to Jian Wushuang and left. In the boundless darkness of the void, a spaceship slowly traveled. Jian Wushuang, as you pass through ancient Star Sea, the following route is comparatively safe. However, the journey is long. King of Venomous Worm's voice was heard. Your current location to the nearest sanctuaries would require 1,000 years under the condition that there is no interruption. Besides, during the last part of the route, there is the boundless void that I was telling you about. The boundless void is where massacres happen widely. Many experts and geniuses who want to head to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries lost their lives when they were passing through the boundless void. Hence, you have to be extremely careful when you're there. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded heavily. Let's go. Jian Wushuang continued his journey. In the following time, Jian Wushuang passed as he hurried through his journey and cultivated. During the process, luckily King of Venomous Worms always took the form of a human and kept Jian Wushuang company. That's why Jian Wushuang didn't find it too boring. On the way, he didn't come across too much of an incident. In the journey of his passing by all the kingdoms and worlds, it was rather smooth until he reached the boundless void. The boundless void was right next to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. Due to its geological location, the massacre was insane and the robbery was even more rampant. Jian Wushuang knew about how dangerous the boundless void was. Hence, when he entered the range of boundless void, he had been rather careful. Even so, when he passed through the boundless void, he came across 2 huge dangers, and both threatened his life. During the first time, he happened to run into a final battle between 2 gangs of robbers. One party was defeated while the other winning party started a massacre. All cultivators in the region were affected, and the same went for Jian Wushuang. He was surrounded by over 100 universe gods. He could only pull the secret skill of dragon blood and made a narrow escape. As for the second time, he ran into a madman who was cultivating in the boundless void. The madman was a universe god in the 3rd heaven. Not only was he strong, but he also loved killing. He wandered around the boundless void and killed whatever cultivator that he met, regardless if the person offended him or not. Jian Wushuang met the madman and the madman took action immediately. Jian Wushuang couldn't resist at all and it was even difficult for him to run away. In the end, Jian Wushuang performed the secret skill of Qian Yuan under duress. It led to severe injuries of the madman by catching him by surprise. It also shocked the madman. The madman was worried that Jian Wushuang could still perform another similar consciousness attack. Hence, he didn't continue to pester Jian Wushuang. That's why Jian Wushuang got his life back. Besides those 2 times, the other encounters were well within Jian Wushuang's means. Just when Jian Wushuang passed through the boundless void, it was already 1,100 years later. 1,100 years was nothing to a universe god. However, it was actually lengthy for Jian Wushuang. It was the first time he had hurried a journey for such a long time. In the dark void. Jian Wushuang, it's one of the 10 cultivation sanctuaries, East Royal Sanctuary. King of Venomous Worms said. "We're finally here." Jian Wushuang was beaming with joy, and he looked at a huge land at the end of his sight. It was also a huge land floating in the dark void. But as one of the 10 cultivation sanctuaries, the East Royal Sanctuary was bigger than the ordinary world by a few folds. Let alone the experts on the land. The 10 cultivation sanctuaries were the experts' paradise. Very soon, Jian Wushuang arrived in the East Royal Sanctuary. The moment Jian Wushuang laid his feet on the East Royal Sanctuary, he could feel that the surroundings were filled with the soul power of the universe. As it was a cultivation sanctuary, it naturally possessed cultivation conditions to which no other places could compare. In the 10 cultivation sanctuaries, regardless of if it was for cultivation or comprehension, the speed would definitely be a few times faster. No wonder so many geniuses and experts would take the risk to come to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. No other places could compare favorably with the cultivation conditions here, Jian Wushuang exclaimed. Jian Wushuang, don't be too happy just yet. You're at the East Royal Sanctuary, which is one of the 10 cultivation sanctuaries but not Purple Moon sanctuaries where the lineage of Star is at. King of Venomous Worms said. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. During the lengthy period of time where he was rushing his journey, he heard from King of Venomous Worms about the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. He also knew that the lineage of Star was within the Purple Moon Sanctuary. It's the overlord and power in Purple Moon Sanctuary. And the East Royal Sanctuary was quite far from the Purple Moon Sanctuary. To go to the Purple Moon Sanctuary from the East Royal Sanctuary, there are 2 ways. One is to take a wormhole that connects the 2 sanctuaries. However, that level of wormhole costs a huge price even to take just one ride. It isn't something you can afford. As for another way, it'd really need you to rush the journey on your own. Forget about the even longer journey from Snow Dojo to the East Royal Sanctuary. The danger during this journey is even bigger. King of Venomous Worms said. Chapter 1353, Sending a Message. It takes longer and brings more risks. Jian Wushuang frowned. It seems like it will be impossible for me to go to the Purple Moon Sanctuary. King of Venomous Worms smiled. Don't be upset. You are unable to go alone there, but you could turn to talents from the lineage of Star for help and ask them to take you there. Ask them for help? Exactly. Don't forget that you are not only a disciple of the lineage of Star but also enjoy a high status as you belong to Star Palace. Send them a message and they will take you there. King of Venomous Worms said. Jian Wushuang nodded. Now that we are in the East Royal Sanctuary, it will be much easier for us to go to the Purple Moon Sanctuary. As far as I know, there is a famous community called Xianxia Tower. King of Venomous Worms said. He continued, any resources are available in the Xianxia Tower, and its power stretches to any corner of the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. There are all kinds of businesses in the tower, intelligence vendors, traders of treasures and even killers for hire. As long as you pay, you can do anything there. So it's easy for you to ask about sending a message. Jian Wushuang nodded and asked, do they dare to kill talents? Of course, talents there fear nothing. Once someone paid a high price for the service of killing a top genius from one of the top 3 tribes in the 10 cultivation sanctuaries, which was even more powerful than the lineage of Star. So talents from Xianxia Tower accepted the request and killed that top genius. The tribe leader was furious, but he couldn't do anything. Jian Wushuang felt amazed by the power of the Xianxia Tower. The Xianxia Tower was far above the standard fare. So, let's go to the Xianxia Tower. He entered a nearby town. There was a Xianxia Tower there. Is that the Xianxia Tower? In front of Jian Wushuang was a towering purple castle decorated with a pattern of a large, exotic beast, with its mouth wide open, as if it wanted to swallow everything in the heavens. Jian Wushuang entered into the Xianxia Tower. There were many cultivators there, each of whom was followed by a waiter in a black robe. What a place full of talents! Jian Wushuang was excited. Those talents, as well as their waiters, were all universe gods. Even the waiters are universe gods. Universe gods are really ordinary. Jian Wushuang murmured. After all, the 10 cultivation sanctuaries is the center of the eternal chaotic world, and the heaven of countless cultivators. A super powerful universe god in an ordinary universe is just another nobody here. After pausing for a while, King of Venomous Worms continued. Many talents are far more powerful than you and they are able to kill you easily. Don't bring trouble to yourself here. Jian Wushuang nodded. At that moment, a deacon in a black robe came to Jian Wushuang. She was a beautiful lady, who said smilingly, "How can I help you?" "I want to send a message." "To whom?" the lady asked. "Purple Moon Sanctuary of the lineage of Star." Jian Wushuang said. "Aha, cross sanctuaries? Okay, follow me." The lady took Jian Wushuang into a secret room. "Sir, please write the message into the token and we will send it out." 2 million chaotic crystals. So expensive. Jian Wushuang thought. In the eternal chaotic world, an ordinary universe god in the first heaven was around 50,000 chaotic crystals. The price of a message almost equaled that of a peak universe god in the second heaven. But Jian Wushuang didn't hesitate to pay. He had accumulated many chaotic crystals along the way in the past 1,000 years. But after he paid for the message, he now had only a few left. "Within 3 days, we will inform you of the response from the other side," the lady said. "Thank you," Jian Wushuang said before going to wait patiently in the secret room. The Vientiane Tower was indeed efficient. 1 day later, the message was sent to a top talent from the lineage of Star. Now in the Purple Moon Sanctuary, at the center of a star river, which was long and wide, full of stars, was located the lineage of Star. An elderly in a white robe entered into a huge palace made of special crystals. "Master." The elderly bowed to a man in a crystal bed. "What's the matter?" the man asked, sitting still. The elderly said, "There is a message from the Vientiane Tower." In the message, a universe god said he belonged to the Star Palace of the lineage of Star and now he is in the East Royal Sanctuary. He asked us to bring him here. Chapter 1354, Fairies Meeting. Disciple from Star Palace? The long-haired middle-aged man who was like a statue finally opened his eyes. There was a flash of purple light in his eyes, just like a purple gemstone. There are only a few disciples from Star Palace in the lineage of Star. Since when do we have another one? The long-haired middle-aged man spoke with a low voice. He said that he passed through the test passed down from Star Foggy Sea in his hometown. He has yet to become the disciple of Star Palace, the elderly in white robe said. Star Foggy Sea? The long-haired middle-aged man creased his eyebrows. Would that be the one that the palace master left behind? Then, the long-haired middle-aged man replied to his message and asked. Soon, there was an outcome. I asked the palace master. He did leave it in Star Foggy Sea and he felt it was not long ago that there was someone who passed the test. It should be this universe god. Oh yeah, what's the young man's name? Which level is he in? The long-haired middle-aged man asked. His name is Jian Wushuang. He is a universe god in the first heaven now and the message he sent showed that he was on the other side of ancient Star Sea. He came from a place called Snow Kingdom. He just arrived at the East Royal Sanctuary, the elderly in white robe replied. The other side of ancient Star Sea? That would require him to pass through 2 dangerous places, ancient Star Sea and the boundless void. He, who is just a universe god in the first heaven, could pass through them. Not bad. He lives up to his reputation as a genius who passed through the test that the palace master set up. The long-haired middle-aged man smiled faintly and immediately gave a command. Tell Vientiane Tower to send him a reply that we of the lineage of Star are going to send an expert to receive and lead him immediately. We should arrive within 10 years' time and tell him to wait right there. Yes, the elderly in the white robe responded. He then turned around and left. The long-haired middle-aged man muttered to himself, the elderless in the lineage of Star have work on hand. Who should I send to bring the young man over? Oh yeah. The long-haired middle-aged man exclaimed and sent a message out. Soon enough, a handsome man in a loose black robe appeared in the cave dwelling. Yuan, are you looking for me? The handsome man looked calm. Even though the long-haired middle-aged man was a highly positioned person in lineage of Star, second to the founder of lineage of Star, which was the palace master, the handsome man could call him by his name directly. The long-haired middle-aged man smiled and said, I have something for you to handle. What is it? The handsome man looked rather cold. Head over to East Royal Sanctuary. There's young man from lineage of Star. He is also a disciple from Star Palace. He just got there from his hometown after going through some difficulties. He just sent a message to request us to send an expert to bring him. The long-haired, middle-aged man said. That simple? The handsome man creased his eyebrows. For such a simple task, you could have sent any deacon elderly to get it done. Although that's true, our deacon elderly have tasks on hand and they couldn't free themselves from them. On top of that, the young man passed through the test that Palace Master set up, then became a disciple from Star Palace. He was not ordinary. I want you to see him and instantly determine his power. Besides, most importantly, the middle-aged man paused and looked at the handsome man. All these years, you have been wandering at that place and you finally came back. You should be relaxing, don't stress yourself out. Fine, I'll go. The handsome man didn't say much but left right after he agreed. The middle-aged man noticed and let out a sigh. East Royal Sanctuary, in Vientiane Tower. Jian Wushuang had been waiting for 2 days and the Vientiane Tower's attendant, the beautiful lady, came in. Mister, the message that you sent earlier, there's a reply, the beautiful lady smiled. What did they say? Jian Wushuang asked. The lineage of Star replied that they already sent an expert over. He should be here within 10 years. They told you to wait here for the time being. The beautiful lady smiled and said. That's great. Jian Wushuang was beaming with joy. As your matter has been taken care of, go ahead and do as you please, the beautiful lady said and left. Jian Wushuang left the Vientiane Tower soon and found a place to stay temporarily. Jian Wushuang, in another 10 years, you will enter Lineage of Star officially. When you arrive at Lineage of Star, your talent could be put to full play, King of Venomous Worms said. 10 years. Jian Wushuang clasped his hands together and he was looking forward. 8 years passed by very quickly. But in the 9th year. Have you heard? The fairies meeting that happens once every 10,000 years in this Blood Jade Land just started. I heard about it long ago. It's one of the highest standard meeting of Blood Jade Land. I heard that many top geniuses participate. For instance, universe gods who are famous from Purple Heart Mansion are all taking part in it. TSK. The fairies meeting is a great opportunity to rise to the top. It's a pity that I'm too weak. Otherwise, I'd like to give it a try too. In the hotel, many cultivators were gathered there, but they were all talking about the fairies meeting, and one of the corners in the hotel, Jian Wushuang was drinking quietly while he listened to their discussion. Fairies meeting? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. The fairies meeting should be something similar to the Firmament Territory Feast that he came across when he stepped foot in Green Fire World. It was something for all parties to select geniuses. To those geniuses, it was really a place for newcomers to come to prominence. It was a great opportunity to rise to the top. However, the fairies meeting was obviously much grander in scale. Jian Wushuang found out from King of Venomous Worms that the entire East Royal Sanctuary was extremely huge, bigger than any kingdom. East Royal Sanctuary was segregated into 9 pieces of land. In every land, there was the existence of various mansions. It was a structure on the surface, but there were various powers between every mansion, which was fairly complicated. For instance, he was currently in Purple Heart Mansion on the Blood Jade Land in East Royal Sanctuary. In the Blood Jade Land, besides Purple Heart Mansion, there were 187 other mansions. Every mansion had countless cultivators, which meant that naturally, there would be countless geniuses. Jian Wushuang, the fairies meeting sounds great. Do you want to give it a try? King of Venomous Worms casually said. I am already a disciple under Lineage of Star. It's not necessary, Jian Wushuang smiled. If he didn't become a disciple under Lineage of Star, it would really be a good choice to join the fairies meeting for him to come to prominence after he arrived at East Royal Sanctuary. However, just then it was really unnecessary. Regardless, head over and take a look. You just got to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. You should see more of the geniuses here. It'd be beneficial for you too, King of Venomous Worms said. Chapter 1355. 2 Wushuangs. Jian Wushuang thought for a while and followed King of Venomous Worms' advice. After all, it was good to learn more. Then he set out to the selection contest of the fairies' meeting. The preliminary selection contest was held in each town of the Blood Jade land. Universe gods or above could attend, but only those who passed the preliminary selection contest could enter into the final contest of the fairies' meeting. When Jian Wushuang arrived, he was shocked. The boundless battlefield was full of tens of thousands of people. However, only 1% of them, or 100,000 of them, had come here for the selection contest. They were universe gods from 3 different heavens. Jian Wushuang soon understood how the selection contest worked. 2 parts, exploring the 9 boundaries tower and the inadvertent dreamland. The former one was a test of skills, while the latter was of consciousness. Anyone who passed these 2 tests had access to the fairies' meeting. The 9 boundaries tower is quite famous in the East Royal Sanctuary. It is a good opportunity to know how much you have improved your swordsmanship. You could have a try. King of Venomous Worms said. But I don't intend to attend the contest. Jian Wushuang said. But you can still go to the preliminary test without attending the fairies' meeting. King of Venomous Worms said. Can I? Of course. So Jian Wushuang signed up for the preliminary test. He waited with the others on the battlefield. As he waited, half of a month passed. How low the efficiency is. Jian Wushuang complained. It is because more than 100,000 universe gods are attending the selection, which is also why the selection contest is held 10 years ahead of the fairies contest. King of Venomous Worms explained. Don't worry. The one who will take you to the lineage of Star hasn't come. You can wait patiently. So Jian Wushuang continued waiting. Almost 1 day passed. Next, Cheng Wushuang. The announcement of the host sparked a heated discussion in the battlefield. Cheng Wushuang, the top genius of the Lionheart town. He is also joining the preliminary selection contest? But I have heard that he is already the disciple of a tribe. Passing the selection contest is a piece of cake to him. The discussion continued. All eyes were on one person. He wore a white robe and held a folding fan. He looked refined, with a charming smile. He was the well-known top genius in the Lionheart town. Cheng Wushuang walked to the 9 boundaries tower slowly. Jian Wushuang was also watching. His name is quite similar to yours, huh? King of Venomous Worms said amusedly. But Jian Wushuang didn't care. After all, it was common for people to share the same name as others in the vast eternal chaotic world. How many levels could he achieve? Jian Wushuang wondered. After a while the result was announced. Cheng Wushuang. The 11th level of the 9 boundaries tower. The 4th levels of the inadvertent dreamland. The spectators were excited. He passed. The criteria is 11th level of the 9 boundaries tower and the 4th levels of the inadvertent dreamland. And he passed more than that. He is the first one in the Lionheart town to pass the preliminary contest. Everyone showed their admiration. From the past month, he was the first one to have passed the contest. With all eyes on him, the refined Cheng Wushuang walked down from the tower. Next, Jian Wushuang. After the announcement, the battlefield turned silent. Even Cheng Wushuang paused mid-step. Jian Wushuang? Cheng Wushuang was interested. Another discussion was sparked. Interesting. Jian Wushuang after Cheng Wushuang. 2 Wushuangs in the Lionheart town? And they go the contest one after the other? What a coincidence. Everyone was interested. Jian Wushuang didn't hesitate to move forward. All were looking at him. As Jian Wushuang was entering into the Lionheart town, Cheng Wushuang asked him indifferently, You are Jian Wushuang? Jian Wushuang paused, looked at Cheng Wushuang and nodded. You'd better change your name. Not everyone deserves this unique name. Jian Wushuang sneered. My name was given to me by my parents and I cannot change it. By the way, how would you know whether or not I deserve it? Then, Jian Wushuang continued to move forward and went into the 9 boundaries tower. Cheng Wushuang didn't leave. He waited on the battlefield. Chapter 1356. Challenge. 9 boundaries tower, 1st floor. Jian Wushuang looked at his opponent, a war puppet that was holding a saber. At the same time, Jian Wushuang could feel his divine power being restrained. In the Nine Boundaries Tower, he could only rely on the unique skill that he created and a killing technique to win victory. He couldn't take any other measure. To wander the dark void for 1,100 years. I have been studying my sword principle during those times. Now, I can finally test and see how much have I improved. Let's get started. Jian Wushuang beamed with joy and he suddenly charged forward. The war puppet before him took a huge stride forward too. It wielded its saber and let out a comparable divine power to Jian Wushuang's. Advanced rank 1 unique skill? Jian Wushuang lifted his eyebrows, then he swung his sword and collapsed the war puppet with one stroke. Then, Jian Wushuang appeared on the second level. Nine Boundaries Tower had a total of 17 floors. As long as he passed through the first 10 floors, it was considered a pass. Nine Boundaries Tower changes according to the level of the cultivator. Jian Wushuang was just a universe god in the first heaven. That's why the war puppet from the first floor only performed an advanced rank 1 unique skill. However, when he arrived on the second floor, the war puppet used a peak rank 1 unique skill. But it didn't affect Jian Wushuang at all. Jian Wushuang passed through floor by floor rather easily. Soon, Jian Wushuang passed through the 10th floor, which meant he had passed through the preliminary stage. On the 11th floor, it was still the same war puppet, but its sword technique had leveled up to be an advanced rank 2 unique skill. The Wushuang earlier passed through the 11th floor. He is also a universe god in the first heaven. In other words, he at least created an advanced rank 2 unique skill. Not too shabby, Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. Among universe god in the first heaven from Snow Kingdom, those who had created an advanced rank 2 unique skill were only Long Hao from Snow Dojo and Lu Qing from Universe God Palace. The two of them were the top geniuses acknowledged in Snow Dojo and Universe God Palace. In East Royal Sanctuary, the top genius in an ordinary town was not weaker than Long Hao nor Lu Qing. He might even be stronger. Wow! A cold sword shadow swept past but didn't leave any traces behind in the void. Jian Wushuang broke down the war puppet on the 11th floor directly. On the 12th floor, the war puppet still carried out an advanced rank 2 unique skill, but it was considered the stronger kind. When one reaches the 12th floor, he has to create a peak rank 2 unique skill. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and there was another flash of sword light. The brutal sword light was unbelievably fast. It hit the war puppet directly. He passed through the 12th floor. On the 13th floor, the war puppet was already performing a peak rank 2 unique skill. However, Jian Wushuang only fought against it for a short while before he felled it again. On the 14th floor. Wow! 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 The billowing saber light continuously slashed towards Jian Wushuang and he felt a tremendous increase of pressure. The 14th floor is the real barrier to testify to my improvement within the last 1,000 years. Jian Wushuang held his fists as murderous intention filled his eyes. The very next moment, Jian Wushuang erupted his swordsmanship. Dragon roar! Roar! A terrifying, low bellow swept out along with the soaring sword intention. Jian Wushuang put his sword principles that he created all these years to play entirely. The fight was rather ferocious. After a fierce battle, the war puppet on the 14th floor was defeated by Jian Wushuang. Phew! Jian Wushuang let out a breath of relief and came to the 5th floor of the Nine Boundaries Tower. I already gave my all to go through the 14th floor. I performed 3 peak rank 2 unique skills that I created. The 15th floor was stronger than the 14th floor. If I want to pass through it, I have to at least create a rank 2 strongest unique skill. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. Rank 2 strongest unique skill. As it was a strongest unique skill, it would be very difficult to create. Back then, Jian Wushuang created a rank 1 strongest unique skill, Eternal Light. It was created via an enormous amount of accumulation plus a bit of luck. As he wandered for the past 1,000 years, his swordsmanship did improve greatly. He even created 3 different peak rank 2 unique skills. However, he had yet to create a rank 2 strongest unique skill. He didn't pass through the 15th floor in the end. After going through Nine Boundaries Tower, Jian Wushuang immediately entered Inadvertent Dreamland. Inadvertent Dreamland focused on testing one's consciousness. There was a total of 7 floors. He only had to pass through 3 floors to pass the preliminary stage. Stepping foot in the first floor of inadvertent dreamland, Jian Wushuang wasn't affected at all. It was followed by the second, the third, the fourth. Jian Wushuang passed through the 4 floors of dreamland rather leisurely. He didn't feel pressured at all. My consciousness strength has reached the level of a universe god in the 3rd heaven. I'm definitely considered a monster among universe gods in the 1st heaven, and my consciousness has already transformed into a soul power that has become more firm and tenacious. The test of inadvertent dreamland would barely cause any harm to me. Jian Wushuang shook his head in silence. After going through the first 4 levels, he wasn't affected at all. Even the following 5th floor, 6th floor, and even 7th floor wouldn't have too huge of an effect. However, even though he was confident to pass through the 7th floor, Jian Wushuang gave up the following tests after he passed through the 5th floor easily. After all, his target was originally just 9 Boundaries Tower. It was unnecessary to put up too impressive of a show. The reason why he passed through the 5th floor was that he thought Jian Wushuang was an eyesore, so he intentionally passed an extra floor than him. Otherwise, according to Jian Wushuang's character, he would only pass through the 3rd floor, which was sufficient to pass the preliminary threshold. After going through 9 Boundaries Tower and inadvertent dreamland, Jian Wushuang returned to the training field. The people under the training field looked at him subconsciously, and Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes as he watched him. On the top of the training field, the universe god in the 3rd heaven who was the host of the preliminary stage received the outcome of Jian Wushuang going through 9 Boundaries Tower and inadvertent dreamland revealed a shocking expression. The universe god in the 3rd heaven then announced the result. Jian Wushuang passed through 14 floors in 9 Boundaries Tower and 5 floors in inadvertent dreamland. He passed the preliminary stage. When the universe god in the 3rd heaven announced the result, his voice became rather heated. After the result was announced, the entire training field was in silence. There was shock in everyone's eyes. How is this possible? The scholarly bearing youth, Jian Wushuang, looked at Jian Wushuang in awe. There was a surge of emotions in him. He only passed through the 11th floor in 9 Boundaries Tower and he was considered amazing. However, the other Wushuang went all the way to the 14th floor. It was another 3 floors more than he did. What's going on? Chapter 1357. Every sect was excited about Jian Wushuang. An unusual talent. Jian Wushuang is an unusual talent in the Purple Heart Mansion in the Blood Jade Land, and even in the whole East Royal Sanctuary. Jian Wushuang exclaimed. And I said he didn't deserve his name? Jian Wushuang felt regretful and terrified. He knew that talents like Jian Wushuang were qualified enough to join a powerful tribe or sect and be a core figure, and could even win the fairies contest. He feared that Jian Wushuang was angry with him and would bring him trouble. Is he angry? Maybe I could apologize by changing my name. Jian Wushuang thought. But actually, Jian Wushuang didn't pay any attention to him. After he passed the preliminary contest, he left. But everyone got excited and admired him a lot. Go! Tell our leader that there is a real top genius in the Lionheart town. He reached the 14th level of the 9 Boundaries Tower, which has only 17 levels. As far as we know, only 2 talents have reached the 14th level. And Jian Wushuang is the 3rd one. Tell our sect members to come and invite Jian Wushuang to join us. Or he will join other sects. Intelligence talents from different groups shared information with each other about Jian Wushuang. After only half of a day, many talents from different sects came to Lionheart Town to see Jian Wushuang. But Jian Wushuang now stayed alone in the yard that he lived in. Jian Wushuang was unsatisfied with his performance. Instead, he knew that he was now meeting with a bottleneck of his swordsmanship, and until a new opportunity, he couldn't improve. He wanted to make a breakthrough. But it was now extremely difficult to make a breakthrough. As he was upset, a figure appeared at the top of Jian Wushuang's yard. A breath disseminated around with a power appalling to any universe gods. What is that? Jian Wushuang felt the power and raised his head. He was surprised when he saw a black figure rising in the heaven. He felt that the one in front of him was a peak talent that transcended universe gods, and was at the same level as Master of Silence Gloriette from the Snow Dojo. Jian Wushuang had heard about that level of power. It's A real god. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists excitedly. The real god was at a level beyond universe gods. Real gods, though not as powerful as an almighty, were definitely experts in the eternal chaotic world. Real gods were definitely the privileged and respectable ones in any god kingdom or any sect in the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. And now, Jian Wushuang was meeting a real god. Are you Jian Wushuang? This black-robed elderly smiled kindly to Jian Wushuang. Yes. And may I ask your name? Jian Wushuang asked. He had thought the elderly was from the lineage of Star. But he quickly disregarded the possibility. Because he had the identity token for disciples of the Star Palace, he would feel a signal if this real god was from the lineage of Star. But Jian Wushuang didn't feel the signal. I am Wu Chen from Qianluo Star Palace. The black-robed elderly introduced himself. Qianluo Star Palace? Jian Wushuang had never heard of it. Wu Chen knew Jian Wushuang was puzzled and he said, to be honest, I come to invite you to join our Qianluo Star Palace. I know that you have reached the 14th level of the 9 Boundaries Tower. If you join us, our sect will definitely provide you with the best training. Jian Wushuang was surprised. He knew now that Wu Chen came here to invite him. Qianluo Star Palace is known to be the top sect in the Purple Heart Mansion. With our abundant resources, you could unleash your potential there. Wu Chen said, Jian Wushuang hesitated. Before he replied, another talent came, saying with hostility, Wu Chen, do you feel ashamed when you are lying? The newcomer was a lady in a purple robe. She also had breath as powerful as Wu Chen. Also a real god. Another one? Jian Wushuang felt embarrassed. He just intended to test his swordsmanship and he wanted to keep a low profile without showing his full strength. He didn't expect there to still be talents coming for him. Kong Jing. Wu Chen looked worried. Kong Jing said indifferently, you may lie to him but you cannot cheat me. Is Qianluo Star Palace ranked first? What about Holy Church of Golden Wing? When she turned to Jian Wushuang, Kong Jing's tone softened. I am Kong Jing from the Holy Church of Golden Wing. If you join us, I will arrange a top real god for you, with the best swordsmanship. Kong Jing smiled to Jian Wushuang. But neither Kong Jing nor Wu Chen, or Jian Wushuang knew that not far away, there was another talent who was looking at them. This disciple of the lineage of Star is quite popular. Chapter 1358, Lei Chao. Holy Church of Golden Wing? Jian Wushuang looked at the 2 real gods before him. Regardless of whether it's Qianluo Star Palace or Holy Church of Golden Wing, I have never heard of either. I reckon they are some powerful forces in East Royal Sanctuary. It's nice that they have a few real gods to personally attend their forces. In East Royal Sanctuary, there are countless forces of that size. How could it be compared favorably with the lineage of Star? Jian Wushuang, you don't have to bother with them, King of Venomous Worms said. I know, Jian Wushuang simply replied. However, he actually didn't dare to ignore the 2 real gods. My friend, Wu Chen spoke, I know that with your talent you could totally showcase yourself in the fairies meeting and some bigger forces might take a liking to you. However, don't forget that although the bigger forces have more resources, they have more outstanding disciples under them too. After segregation, the resources that you obtain might, in turn, be lesser. However, it's different in Qianluo Star Palace. For a talent like you, you would definitely be nurtured and raised with the utmost care in Qianluo Star Palace. We at the Holy Church of Golden Wing would do the same, the purple-dressed lady, Kong Jing added too. Jian Wushuang couldn't help but smile bitterly. He replied, I'm sorry. I appreciate your kind offers but, to be frank, I didn't intend to join the fairies meeting. In other words, I naturally didn't intend to join any other forces or sects. The reason why I joined the preliminary was merely because I wanted to test my sword's principle via the 9 Boundaries Tower. You didn't intend to join any forces or sects. Wu Cheng and Kong Jing both creased their eyebrows. That's right, Jian Wushuang nodded. To be honest, I have already had a master since long ago. Is that so? Wu Chen and Kong Jing exchanged a glance. They both felt disappointed. A genius who had passed through 9 Boundaries Tower till the 14th floor like Jian Wushuang was definitely someone that both sects would love to have. Hence, at the moment, the two of them had received such news, they rushed over personally. However, they never expect that Jian Wushuang was a master long ago. As he had a master, he naturally couldn't join other sects. Just then, swoosh! A figure appeared out of nowhere above the courtyard. Jian Wushuang, Wu Chen, Kong Jing looked towards the visitor. It was a handsome man in a loose, long robe. The handsome man looked cold as he stood there without giving out much aura. However, his star-like eyes glanced at Wu Chen and Kong Jing. With just that one glance, the two real gods, Wu Chen and Kong Jing, both revealed a face of terror. Their faces grew pale all of a sudden. "I am Lei Chao." The handsome man spoke in a cold but soft voice. However, it caused a loud echo in Wu Chen and Kong Jing's head. Lei Chao? Real god Lei Chao from lineage of Star? The expert on the real god list. Wu Chen and Kong Jing were shocked. They had obviously heard Lei Chao's name before and they clearly knew how amazing he was. "Greetings, Mr. Lei Chao." "Greetings, Mr." The two real gods bowed politely at the handsome man without hesitation. They were all real gods, but the two of them revered Lei Chao sincerely. The handsome man Lei Chao merely glanced at them but didn't bother with the two real gods. He turned to look at Jian Wushuang instead. "You are Jian Wushuang?" Lei Chao looked at Jian Wushuang. "Greetings, Mr. Lei Chao." Jian Wushuang also bowed politely, but he wasn't worried. He could feel the lineage of Star's token on Lei Chao. "I am here to bring you back to the lineage of Star. Be prepared, we shall leave now," Lei Chao said calmly. "I don't have to prepare anything. I can leave anytime," Jian Wushuang replied. Lei Chao nodded and looked at the two real gods next to him. The two real gods looked terrified and Wu Chen said, "Mr. Lei Chao, the two of us didn't know that this young man has a master. Let alone the fact that he was a disciple from the lineage of Star. Hence, we invited him to join us. Please forgive us." "I saw everything that happened earlier," Lei Chao said. "As the two of you came for him, you definitely know a bit about his ability then. Tell me this." Wu Chen hesitated for a while before she said, "The reason why we found him was that he joined the preliminary for the fairies meeting. During the preliminary, he passed through 14 levels in 9 Boundaries Tower and 5 levels in Inadvertent Dreamland. Hence, we rushed over to get him." 9 Boundaries Tower? Inadvertent Dreamland? Lei Chao raised his eyebrows. "I have heard about the two tests. A universe god in the first heaven passing through 14 levels is quite impressive. However, on consciousness, although he was better than similar ranks, he still wouldn't be considered the top." Jian Wushuang couldn't help but smile bitterly when he heard that. He wasn't even in the mood to go through the test in Inadvertent Dreamland. If he were to give his all, he might be able to pass through all 7 floors in Inadvertent Dreamland. "Jian Wushuang, let's go." Lei Chao didn't say anything more. Jian Wushuang didn't hesitate but followed Lei Chao. As for Wu Chen and Kong Jing, they stood there until they saw Lei Chao left entirely. Then, the two of them finally let out a breath of relief. "Lei Chao, he is really the top expert on the list. He is also famous in the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. I can't believe we could see him in person." Wu Chen clasped his hands together as he spoke passionately. "I originally planned to get this genius at all cost but was unaware that Jian Wushuang had joined Lineage of Star long ago. Lineage of Star, TSK, the overlord in Purple Moon Sanctuary, they have countless geniuses. Although Jian Wushuang is amazing, he might not be the top expert in Star Palace," Kong Jing said quietly. "Kong Jing, I guess your effort was in vain." Wu Chen looked over. "Same for you, isn't it?" Kong Jing smirked. "He's a disciple from the lineage of Star. Unless Chen Luo Star Palace is planning to fight for him with the lineage of Star?" Wu Chen shrugged. The two of them didn't chat further but left. In the void, Jian Wushuang moved swiftly behind Lei Chao. "Mr. Lei Chao, are we going back to Lineage of Star directly?" Jian Wushuang asked. "I have something to take care of in East Royal Sanctuary. We will return right after." "Don't worry, it won't take too long," Lei Chao said. Jian Wushuang lifted his eyebrows but he remained unconcerned. Then, Jian Wushuang followed closely behind Lei Chao. The two of them took the wormhole towards another land in East Royal Sanctuary. In one of the mansions on the land, Lei Chao brought Jian Wushuang along with him and stopped before an ancient clan. Chapter 1359, Thunder Fire Sect. Now we have arrived at the Thunder Fire Sect. Thunder Fire Sect? Jian Wushuang didn't know even what it was. The elderly god from the Thunder Fire Sect is our friend. He sent a message to us that the Thunder Fire Sect is in danger. Now we are going to help him. Lei Chao said. Got it. Jian Wushuang said. Thunder Fire Sect was only a small sect. It was not easy for such a sect to develop a friendship with the lineage of Star. Let's go. They went to the gate of Thunder Fire Sect. Who is that? The universe gods in the Thunder Fire Sect felt alarmed by these two visitors. Immediately, more than 10 universe gods surrounded Jian Wushuang and Lei Chao. More specifically, they surrounded Lei Chao. Lei Chao stood there calmly and silently. After a while, an elderly in a purple robe came. I am the master of the Thunder Fire Sect. May I ask what you are coming for? The elderly stared at Lei Chao, knowing that his visitor was powerful. We came at the invitation of the Green Fox. It's his letter. Lei Chao took out a letter. The Green Fox was the elderly god of the Thunder Fire Sect. Talents who will help us? Those universe gods were excited and happy after hearing that. After the sect master read the letter, he was relieved. Come in, please. The sect master welcomed them. So Jian Wushuang and Lei Chao entered the Thunder Fire Sect. As they were walking, the sect master asked Lei Chao, do you know where Green Fox is now? He just told me via letter that he couldn't come back without making his location known. Now his situation is dangerous and there may sometimes be a risk of death. He can't come back to save the sect. And he asked me to help. Lei Chao said. Green Fox is now in danger. The sect master frowned. Thunderfire Sect was only a small tribe in which there were only 2 real gods, the Sect Master and Green Fox. The death of any real god would be a disaster. Green Fox, in particular, was the backbone of the sect. Lei Chao didn't beat about the bush. He asked, what crisis is the Thunderfire Sect facing? The Sect Master answered directly, we have always been fighting against the White Flame Palace. Our conflicts and hatred are only growing in magnitude. In the past we were neck and neck with each other. We each had 2 real gods, and Green Fox was very powerful so the White Flame Palace didn't dare make trouble. However, recently they added a new real god and also invited an independent real god to protect them. So they now have 4 real gods, making them much more powerful than us. In the past 100 years, they have been attacking us and grabbing our property. We are surviving thanks to our sect's secret skills, but actually the sect is on shaky ground. I intended to call Green Fox back to save our sect, but I now know that he is in danger. The sect master seemed helpless. Lei Chao said, that's to say, if we can kill 2 real gods in the White Flame Palace, they can't pose a threat to you, right? Yes. The sect master nodded. If we manage to do this, we will not only contain the White Flame Palace, but also recover our lost property. Lei Chao said, okay, that's easy. As you have fought with the White Flame Palace for a long time, you must know how many universe gods they have, right? Of course. The sect master nodded, but he didn't know why Lei Chao had asked that. The real crisis came from 4 real gods. Why did Lei Chao mention universe gods? Jian Wushuang couldn't understand either. Give me a ranking list of all the universe gods from the White Flame Palace. Lei Chao said. No problem. The sect master asked his subordinates to finish the task. After a while, Lei Chao got the list. After looking through the list, Lei Chao said, let's go to the White Flame Palace. The master of the Thunderfire Sect didn't understand and he asked, at this very moment, talents from the White Flame Palace are watching us outside our sect. If we go out, they will raid us immediately. How can we take that risk? Lei Chao glanced at the sect master and said indifferently, how can you solve the crisis by staying in the sect? But, stop talking and lead me there. Lei Chao didn't want to explain further. The sect master chose to trust Lei Chao's decision. He trusted Lei Chao because he felt that Lei Chao was powerful enough to protect the sect. Without enough confidence, Lei Chao would risk death and go to the White Flame Palace. Lei Chao was confident enough. Chapter 1360. Thunder Measure. Before a lofty mountain near the door of Thunder Fire Sect. Mr. This is White Flame Palace's campsite near Thunder Fire Sect. All 4 real gods of White Flame Palace are in there, Thunder Fire Sect Master said. Behind the elderly in the purple robe, there were higher-ups from Thunder Fire Sect. Lei Chao and Jian Wushuang stood at the front. Lei Chao folded his arms as he overlooked the lofty mountain before him with a cold gaze. When they appeared, the experts in the mountain shook that instance. There were figures of experts that soared up in the sky one after another. Among the crowds of experts from White Flame Place, there were 4 leading figures. From the aura that the 4 figures gave out, they were far beyond the level of a universe god. They were obviously the 4 real gods from White Flame Palace. Ha ha, old man Xianxia, I thought you'd hide for the rest of your life. I never thought that you would ever come to me, a perverse bald man said in disdain as he smiled maliciously. The person who is speaking now is the solo expert that White Flame Palace hired. He is the strongest among the 4 real gods from White Flame Palace. Even if their chief comes, he might not be his match. The elderly with crane hair next to him is the Palace Master of White Flame Palace. Thunderfire Sect Master Xianxia said with a low voice. Lei Chao nodded faintly. The 4 real gods from White Flame Palace noticed Lei Chao's existence from the opposite. Humph. No wonder he dared to show up. He found help. However, you thought you had found a real god and Thunder Fire Sect would be fine? The perverse bald man laughed. Although he could tell that it wasn't wise to provoke Lei Chao, he didn't care much because he was confident with his own capability. Mister, what do we do now? Xianxia asked. You just watch from here, Lei Chao replied briefly and suddenly moved. Swoosh. When Lei Chao's figure appeared again, he was already before the perverse bald man. His right index finger flashed with light when he pointed. A terrifying, damaging aura suddenly erupted. The damaging aura was fierce and the 4 real god from White Flame Palace revealed a face of terror. Lei Chao's index finger became bigger in size in the perverse bald man's eyes. He couldn't give any response. Pissed. The light went through in between the perverse bald man's eyebrows. The perverse bald man couldn't even let out a groan before he was killed. The sight shocked everyone at the scene. How is that possible? The experts from White Flame Palace were all dumbfounded. Merely a finger and he killed a real god. Xianxia stared. This. Jian Wushuang revealed a face of terror. It was Jian Wushuang's first time to see a real god take action personally, and it was also his first time seeing a real god killed with his own eyes. He was even killed instantly without any space of struggle. He finally understood why the 2 real gods Wu Chen and Kong Jing in Lionheart Town would revere Lei Chao. They were all real gods, but their difference was vast. Hong. After killing the perverse bald man with 1 finger, Lei Chao took action like lightning again. Pissed. Pissed. Followed by another 2 soft thuds, another 2 figures fell. The 4 real gods from White Flame Palace, Lei Chao killed 3 of them in an instant. The remaining one was the Palace Master of White Flame Palace, the only one alive. Of course, the reason why he was alive was that Lei Chao didn't intend to kill him. The Palace Master of White Flame Palace's face was covered in terror. He stared at Lei Chao and finally uttered a question. Who are you exactly? Lineage of Star, Lei Chao. Lei Chao didn't hide his identity. The Palace Master of White Flame Palace was suddenly wide open. The expert on the real god list, Lei Chao? How is this possible? How is the Thunder Fire Sect be related to an expert like you? It's impossible. The Palace Master of White Flame Palace started bellowing. Palace Master of White Flame Palace, Lei Chao's voice was cold. Follow my instruction and I leave White Flame Palace a way out. The Palace Master of White Flame Palace immediately calmed down. He knew that it was not the time for sorrow and fear, but most importantly, to focus on keeping White Flame Palace alive. Lei Chao took out the name list that he had obtained from Thunder Fire Sect. I have a name list here. Whoever gets his name called out, stand out on your own. First one, Luo Shu. Lei Chao's cold voice reverberated in the lofty mountain. A large number of experts from White Flame Palace gathered in the mountain. The most outstanding experts were all gathered here. When the universe god in the first heaven named Luo Shu heard Lei Chao's voice, although he was terrified, he stood up. Luo Shu, it is very simple. I will give you and also everyone in White Flame Palace a chance to live, if you can defeat him. Luo Shu pointed Jian Wushuang and said, otherwise, you can only die. White Flame Palace could only be destroyed entirely. Defeat him? The universe god in the first heaven named Luo Shu immediately looked towards Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang already stood out then and he looked rather calm. When Lei Chao asked for a name list of experts from White Flame Palace, he had a faint idea of Lei Chao's plan. Obviously, Lei Chao intended to use the experts from White Flame Palace to determine his ability. After all, although he had passed through the 14th floor in Nine Boundaries Tower and the 5th floor in Inadvertent Dreamland, those were focused on unique skills and consciousness. They had nothing to do with one's real power. Jian Wushuang became a disciple of Star Palace through the test which the founder of the lineage of Star had created. It was different from other disciples from Star Palace. It was only normal that a higher up in the lineage of Star wanted to know his real power. Jian Wushuang, as Lei Chao wanted to determine your level of power. Give your all and don't hide. After all, the lineage of Star higher up would allocate resources according to the power and talent that you show. If you were to reveal stronger capabilities, the more benefits you would to receive, King of Venomous Worms said. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded heavily as his gaze grew sharp. The expert names Luo Shu also had determination burning in his eyes. He could tell that Jian Wushuang was like him, a universe god in the first heaven. As they were both universe gods in the first heaven, he had nothing to be afraid of. After all, he was the top universe god in the first heaven in White Flame Palace. He was a real genius. Come on. Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. As he stood there, the Blood Mountain sword had already appeared in his hand.